I have just immediately a bone to pick with you. We have a cold open with an unnamed hunter out with his pack of huskies out on the ice, and he can see there's like a corpse being eaten over by a polar bear. He goes to investigate, and all the dogs are killed within the first 2.5 minutes of this film. What are you doing to me? Why did you pick a film with like 10 dog deaths inside the first 3 minutes?
Okay, so Jay, I'm not going to lie to you. I myself forgot about that opening scene. I must have blocked it out of my brain because it's so horrific. Again, how many times am I going to apologize on this podcast?
I'm going to
Yeah,
stop
no,
being
I
so
actually
aggressive.
forgot
Okay.
about that. I forgot about that. But yeah, I feel like at least it was quick. It was over very soon. And I don't know. It was terribly done. And I was kind of confused at all the weird angles, honestly. Like there were a lot of angles, a lot of camera angles there, Jay.
Yes, I mean he parks his sled quite close to the water. The dogs all start barking, and then you don't see a shark eat a dog.
No.
You see very little sharks eating people. It's mainly a blur kind of passes the screen when it happens because it's a very low budget film. By
You
the way,
kind of just see the dogs
they just
disappearing
kind of
and you hear
explode.
the chomp chomp and the cries of the
Oh,
dogs.
and
And
there's a
yeah,
splash of blood
the ice
thrown up.
explodes.
But yeah, this film,
It's difficult to explain this movie.
this is our first film we're covering that does not have a Wikipedia page, so I do not have a budget for it.
Ah,
Barely has an
uh,
IMDb page. Yeah, the dogs are all killed, and then the sled is pulled into the water as well, and the guy has his leg tied to the sled, so he gets pulled in as well. Somehow the end of his finger comes off in the snow.
yeah, that is
I don't know.
amazing. What do you think happened there, Jay?
A
What did he
sharp bit of
hit that
ice.
just ripped off his finger like that? At first I thought it was a nail, but then later on you learn, no, that was the whole damn finger.
Yeah, as he's being dragged back, you see there's like a bloody. Is his middle finger? It's like a bloody stump where the last knuckle should have been, and
Yeah, like, jeez,
it's like, was he getting
like,
like extreme frostbite in that finger, so it was more brittle, and he just got it stuck and it pinged off? Maybe, I
yeah,
don't know.
previous injury. Maybe a dog bit it.
Maybe,
That's why the
maybe.
dogs got killed. See, like,
Yeah.
you can
He
make a whole
parks there on
backstory to
purpose.
make this scene better.
Yeah, he parked there on purpose. He knew there was a shark. He just forgot he was tied to the sled.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, murderer.
yeah, so he's dragged in the water, and then he's dead. That's it. He's gone from the film. So we then cut from there. We see some lovely shots of the mountains, and we arrive at the Oasis a research base that I think is doing research into global warming of some kind, or is because they've got global warming and how the ice caps or the icebergs or whatever are melting. So they've got some sensors out in the field that are measuring the depth of the ice, and they're pinging back saying, "Hey, it's thin," and it's so thin that it's causing concern. So one of the guys goes out to check. This is Sammy, I think it is. Yeah, Sammy, who is the brother of Michael, one of the other guys. Sammy seems like quite a good sort. I would like Sammy. I thought, hey, this could be our hero. I like this guy.
Yeah.
He's definitely not going to be the first one to die. But hey, what do you know? It doesn't go well for Sammy. We cut away from him immediately. I'm going to kind of finish his story here because he goes out on his jet ski, his snowmobile. I podcast too much with Mark. I have jet skis on the mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, he,
Ice jet ski.
he goes out to check on the servers. Well, he tries flashing the server's memory. They try all kinds of things back from the base. This little room they're in. Well, actually, yeah, the Oasis base. We see two rooms. It's a two-story thing. There are 7 people working here. We never see any kind of living quarters. We
No.
just see a lab upstairs, and then there's like a wet room downstairs with a pool in it. Very much like the wet lab in Deep Blue Sea. And that's the 2 rooms with stairs in between. And I just wanted, I get budget, etc., but I'd like to have seen how these guys live a little bit. Where do they sleep? Have they got a kitchen? What's going on? What do you think?
Absolutely. No, absolutely, Jay. Like, honestly, having seen this movie now 4 times, I never thought I would watch Ice Sharks 4 times, Jay. And I'm saying that with a little tear in my eye. Seeing it 4 times now, that's actually starting to bug me. Like, why? How are they living? Because it's difficult to, like, you want to map a place in your head, you know? You feel like, okay, I've watched you guys, like, over and over now. Like you say, where do you sleep? How do you move around even? Just,
Yeah,
I feel like, I don't know. Do they make sense sleeping under the table in the one room? If I don't like, and everyone's always in the room together. It's like a lot of people in one tiny room at once.
yeah,
I feel
they're
like
all on
that
top of
doesn't
each
feel
other.
natural at all. It
Yeah,
doesn't feel natural at all.
yeah, it's too cramped. 7 people is too many for what we're shown. Uh, but hey, that's all we've got. So there's 3
Maybe
guys.
that's why Tracy's so miserable.
Maybe, but they all are. That's why they're also miserable all the time. So yeah, so they've all got their. Actually, we don't actually know what most of these people do either. They don't have any kind of distinct roles. But Tracy,
No.
David, and Michael are all. Sorry, Tracy, David, and Sammy are all upstairs doing their various things. So David is seems to be in charge of the whole thing. His main job seems to be staring at a map of the Arctic, or no, sorry, of North America, which is odd because I don't think they need a map that big. I wasn't quite sure what he was doing. Tracy is doing something with some test tubes, and then she gets to stare at a laptop which has a still image of the weather on it. It's not moving. It's just stuck on there with a bit of glue,
I
I
feel like
think.
she's kind of more like the radio girl, actually, because I swear
Yeah,
she's more on the radio than anything else. Like, she's the equivalent of who's the
Brenda.
radio lady in Deep Blue Sea?
Brenda.
There we go.
Yeah.
Brenda. Mwah.
Yeah, they even say at one point, no, you stay here. You're really good at the radio. Like, kind of later on, you're really good at like talking to people and keeping everyone informed. Don't get into danger. You won't know what to do.
So this is like, yeah, where Brenda is the main role, but like not Brenda, like uncool Brenda.
Yeah, Tracy. And then so Sammy goes out to check on this server. Whilst he's out there, things don't go well for him.
Not at all.
It's actually quite awful. He goes out, he checks the server thing, and he looks through the ice and he can see the silhouette of a shark swimming around. We've already seen the sharks at this point in an early scene we'll get to in a minute. But so the ice is so thin he can see a silhouette of a shark that is not lit from below because this is the ocean. This is the Arctic.
It's like
the
a
sun
lot
is
of
above.
weird lights in the Arctic, okay? It's very strange up there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of lights.
So he sees the shark and he's like, oh no, and runs for his snowmobile as you would. Wise decision. So yeah, he grabs his gear and he runs. And whilst he makes his way, shark bursts through the ice because it's gotten really thin, and it bites him in the leg. So he's like, my leg hurts. Scrambling to get away, this awful CGI shark is chasing him, flailing around on the ice. His leg is tied to his pack. His pack goes in the water. The shark obviously must have pulled the pack. We don't see that happen, but it rips his leg off just below the knee. Doesn't break the cord, doesn't break the bag, breaks his leg.
Yes.
Clean off.
Yes.
And so he takes a belt. He's quite calm. He's trying to put a tourniquet on this spongy, meaty stump that looks
That's
more like...
giving birth.
Yeah.
It looks like it's giving birth by the end. Like there's just a giant head coming out of his.
Well, I thought it looked more like kind of a stomach and intestines rather than.
That's the thing. It changes. I mean, like watch it slowly. It changes. Then it looks like intestines. You're absolutely right. Then it starts looking like a head popping out there. Like the meat that falls out of his meat just gets more and more for some reason. I did not know knees work like that, Jay.
I was expecting a lot more blood as well because
absolutely shocked.
There's a lot of like big important arteries and veins in your leg that have a lot of blood they're trying to get out.
I've never seen anything like that. I feel like that's what people who see women giving birth, like that's how they feel. I was absolutely shocked to see that nonsense.
It is disgusting. But he's quite calm, trying to put the tourniquet on, but passes out during it because he just had his leg ripped off, and we never see him again. He's dead. The camera,
Yeah.
he collapses. The camera just pulls up and pulls up and up and up and up and up and shows he's in the middle of nowhere. No one's coming to help. That's it. Bye, Sammy. He's gone.
And that was sad, and you're right. Sammy was actually pretty cool. Would have loved to see more of him.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back at Oasis, David and Tracy get a call from the local indigenous people who saying like another hunter has gone missing. That's the 5th one this month, which is a lot of people. I gotta assume 5 hunters this month have gone missing. So they know where he was most recently. They go out to check. They take their snowmobiles. They have a little race. These two are in a relationship, Tracy and David, and so they're. Sometimes they are. I feel like sometimes they're not. But they, for the story's sake, they are. So they go on a little joyride where they're teasing each other, racing, and they arrive at the scene of the hunter and dog murder from earlier in the film. And Tracy sees this bloody mess, and she goes to throw up, but then immediately she goes, "Oh no, wait! I need to collect some samples." Because they think it's just a seal up until David finds a finger, the hunter's missing finger, and then we get what to me felt like the longest action scene in any film I've ever seen.
That's true. It was glorious.
Not the word I'd use.
Yeah, that was pretty special. I actually watched it just before the pod now again, and I rewinded it to watch it again. It's amazing. I just think, like, it's not often you see a thing like that, Jay. That's the thing. You know, doesn't happen often.
Well, the thing like that is David's crouched near the edge of the water when Tracy she senses something, hears something, sees something, whatever, starts to run back to the snowmobile when a shark bursts through the ice and drags David into the water. And you might be thinking, oh no, David's going to die. Not the case. He flails around in the water. There's a shark swimming around him for minutes and minutes and minutes, and it never grabs him. And in this time, Tracy runs all the way back to the snowmobiles, which are 10, 20 meters away. She grabs the harpoon gun, runs all the way back. We see every step of this in real time. As like David's just flailing in the water, not even trying not to look like a seal, just flailing around. So Tracy, she pulls back the rubber band on this harpoon gun. She fires it not at a shark. You might think, oh, it's an action sequence. She's going to try and kill the shark. No, she fires it off into the water for David to grab hold of. She almost hits him. That's right next to him. Then he grabs the cable. We're not done yet, because then she has to run back to the snowmobile, hook the rest of the harpoon with the rope to the back of the snowmobile, then get on, and then drive away. And it takes her a long time to even start the thing as well. And she drives away, and then finally this pulls David out of the ice. And it's only a few minutes actually in the film, but there's so many steps involved. We see like. Not in an action scene, like, oh, David fell in the water, Tracy would take the harpoon that's already at her hip and shoot it. And that would be the scene. But this is so much involved.
It's like one of those things where David has to tell someone about how he survived a shark attack. And he tells them this story. They won't believe it. It's one of those things where you had to be there. But the thing is, even if you've seen it, you still won't believe it. So it's one of those.
Yes, because
I think it's about 2-3 minute scene. That's crazy talk.
Once he's out, it's not even. Once he's out of the water, it's not even over because like Tracy comes along. And she dives on the snow to like, oh, you made it. And then they look up and there's 3 sharks nearby that are going to come and get them on the ice. Then they're quite like inland at this point, but they're still very concerned. And so like, oh, quick, jump on the snowmobile. Let's go. And they jump on the snowmobile, but somehow the harpoon has become stuck in the ice. And they're like, oh no, what do we do? And so David then has to jump off the snowmobile and makes a real ordeal of getting his knife out and cutting through the rope and then jump back on. And this... In any other film, we'd be like, quick, he'd be just lead off the back of the thing, cut the rope, and they're off. but they just make such a meal out of the whole thing. It feels like there's only a few action sequences in the film,